we're up and running. All right, 7:01. Welcome everyone. December 2nd, 2025, Village Council, Winnetka Village Council meeting. We'll call this meeting to order. Let's mute our cell phones and other electronic devices so we don't interrupt the proceedings. And Manager Kazinas will do a roll call for attendance.
Trustee Handler.
Here.
Trustee Albinson.
Here.
Trustee Orsic. Here. Trustee Dahlman. Here. Trustee Apatow.
Here.
Trustee Myers.
Here.
President Dearborn.
Here. And I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Kristen, would you like to do a quorum check?
There is no meeting on December 9th, and our next and final 25 regular meeting is December 16th. Does everyone plan to be there?
Terrific, terrific. We'll move on to item 4, public comments, and I'd ask if anyone in the audience would like to speak about an item that's not on tonight's agenda. And if so, please remember to keep your public comments to a maximum of 3 minutes so that everyone has an opportunity to speak. Would anyone like to speak in public comment? Seeing no hands raised, we'll close public comment and we'll move on to reports. We'll start with trustees. We'll start at the far end over here. Kim Handler.
No report.
Kirk?
No report.
Bridget?
No report.
Scott?
No report.
Rob?
None tonight.
Tina?
No report.
Village attorney?
No report.
Village manager?
I do have a brief report this evening. I'd like to report that our first significant snowfall of the season was 9.4 inches officially over a 17-hour period. Our Public Works team did 24-hour snow removal efforts on split shifts from 7 a.m. Saturday morning until 8 a.m. today. The snow emergency was lifted this morning, so full parking has returned as of today. Unfortunately, our leaf collection efforts were impaired by this significant snow event. We had the perfect storm of a late leaf drop with a significant snow event before our collection efforts were completed. So we would like to assure everyone whose leaves were not collected prior to the storm that, weather permitting, we're committing to making sure that everyone in town gets an additional pass and that their leaves are collected. This is weather dependent, and Public Works is working on some different ideas of how to manage this difficult event. So I would like to thank, on behalf of the village, the entire Public Works team who worked diligently to ensure that our streets were safe and our sidewalks were cleared in the business districts in a timely manner.
Thank you for that, Kristen. They did a terrific job. It was beautiful, but it was a big snowfall. And for anyone that was in town knows that the trucks were out there early, the salting was out there early, and they did a great job. So thank you for that. I do not have a report, so we'll move on to item 6, establishment of the consent agenda. Does any trustee wish to remove any item on the consent agenda for a separate vote? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the final form of the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
That's a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed? Okay, we'll move on. Kristen, would you like to read the consent agenda for approval?
Approval of the Village Council minutes for the October 21st, 2025 regular meeting and the November 4th, 2025 regular meeting. Approval of the warrant list dated November 14th, 2025 to November 26th, 2025 in the amount of $1,429,813.25. Ordinance number MC09 2025, amending the Winnetka Village Code concerning the use of leaf blowers for introduction and adoption. Ordinance number MC10 2025, amending section 2.72.020 of the Village Code regarding the village's administrative adjudication system for introduction and adoption. Resolution number R88 2025, waiving bidding and approving the purchase of valve actuators from LAI Limited for adoption. Resolution number R93, approving a non-exclusive license agreement for the use of the post office parking lot and Dwyer Park for the 2025 tree lighting ceremony for adoption. Resolution number R96, 2025, approving an 8th amendment to the lease agreement between the Village of Winnetka and the United States Postal Service for adoption. Resolution number R97, 2025, approving an addendum to the Security Services Agreement between the Village and P4 Security Services LLC for adoption. Resolution number R100, 2025, approving and authorizing the execution of a prosecutorial services agreement with Addis Law Group LLC for adoption. The fiscal year 2026 village budget, ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance number MC08, 2025, enacting a home rule municipal retailers occupation tax and a home rule municipal service occupation tax for adoption. Resolution number R90, 2025, adopting the annual budget for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2026 and ending December 31, 2026 for adoption. Resolution number R91, 2025, establishing rates and fees related to utility services for adoption. Resolution number R92, 2025, amending general, building, and miscellaneous service fees for adoption. The property tax levy and abatement ordinances. Ordinance number M15, 2025, levying taxes for the year 2025 for adoption. Ordinance number M16, 2025, abating the tax heretofore levied for the year 2025 to pay the principal and interest on taxable general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2020 of the Village of Winnetka, Cook County, Illinois for adoption, and approval of the Village Council meeting schedule for 2026.
That was a mouthful.
Is that easy for you to say?
Sheepers. Okay, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda by omnibus vote?
So moved.
Second.
And that is a roll call vote.
Trustee Albinson.
Yes.
Trustee Orsick.
Yes.
Trustee Handler.
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman.
Yes.
Trustee Apatow.
Yes.
Trustee Myers.
Yes.
Thank you, and we don't typically comment on those, but I just want to say thanks again to the staff and Kristen and Tim Sloth for doing a great job on the budget. It was a heavy lift this year, and we've just completed it, so thank you for that. Great job. We'll move on to item 8, presentations. And 8A is the Green Bay Road Streetscape presentation and policy direction. Tonight, council will be provided with an update on the advancement of the joint streetscape concept plan with the Village of Kenilworth. And we'll start with Community Development Director Scott Mangum to present this topic. Hello, Scott.
Yes, good evening. Thank you, President Dearborn. This is a discussion and an update on the Green Bay Road corridor streetscape improvements. As a bit of background, in 2023, the Village Council did approve a reimbursement with the Village of Kenilworth to work on design services for the Green Bay Road streetscape. The project is about 70% in Kenilworth and 30% in Winnetka, so it was prorated in that direction. And so this evening, we have a representative from Siorba Design Engineering Group that will provide an update on the advancement of the joint streetscape concepts with Kenilworth. And they did provide a similar update to the Kenilworth Village Board November 17th.
Okay, and do I just hit one of these?
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. Good evening. Thank you for giving me the...
Can you introduce yourself?
I will.
Okay.
My name is Mark Johnson with Siorba Group Consulting Engineers, and as Scott mentioned, we've been working with the villages of Winnetka and Kenilworth on this Green Bay Road corridor and streetscape concept study. As far as the agenda for tonight, here's a listing of some of the things I'll be talking about. As far as the project goes, we've been working with both villages, kind of building on the Winnetka master plan from 2016 and 2013 master plan from Kenilworth on this project. The purpose of the project was to kind of develop a conceptual plan for Green Bay Road within this area. The study limits are from Kenilworth Avenue on the south side to Winnetka Avenue to the north. And this covers the Kenilworth Business District and the Winnetka Indian Hill Business District. The goals of the project are to improve the vehicle, pedestrian, and bicyclist experiences and their safety while stimulating economic growth and enhancing the community identity. So some of the things we looked into in this concept study was working with the villages to come up with enhancement options for the roadways, the parking, sidewalks, pedestrians, bus access, and a number of other things listed on the slide here. So as part of the study, we did have 2 public meetings, and through that, we obtained input on the project, and those concepts can be refined as we move into the phase 1, if that's what the council decides. So as far as the proposed improvements go, here you can see kind of like an overview of the entire project. Now Green Bay Road is a basically 4-lane roadway, 2 lanes, 2 through lanes in each direction. It's under the jurisdiction of IDOT. It's a minor arterial that sees about 8,000 vehicles per day in the area here. On the left side, you can see the existing typical sections showing the 4 lanes of arterial roadway with parallel parking on both sides of the roadway. In the Kenilworth section, we looked at a couple different alternates. The preferred alternate is what's showed in the lower left-hand corner of the screen that you're looking at. This features a road diet. So instead of the 4 lanes with 2 through lanes in each direction, we're reducing that to 1 through lane in each direction, separated by a 2-way left turn lane. Now with the traffic volumes that are out there, this road diet can still handle the volumes that are there. As I said before, it's about 8,000 vehicles per day. Working with IDOT, we've dealt with projects where there's potentially 16,000 vehicles per day in that area for that sort of alignment to handle it. In the Kenilworth section, we have the road diet section. Then to the west, we have diagonal parking with its own access lane, separated with a concrete median there. And then to the right side, we'd still have the parallel parking along with a small carriage walk to the side. In the portion for Winnetka, we'd still see the road diet with the 3-lane roadway as the arterial, and then parallel parking on both sides of the road there. One of the benefits here is that the existing 10-foot sidewalk will now become a 15-foot sidewalk on the west side of Green Bay Road. And under this preferred alternate here, there would also be a sidewalk along the east side of the roadway. And in the picture that we have here, the right side shows the existing Metra parking lot. Looking at the aerial views here, kind of starting at the south portion of the project, we'd be tying in at Park Avenue under the proposed concept. Some things that were looked at here as concepts were incorporating some diagonal parking along Park Drive, both on the south for one concept and on the north side for the other concept. And these are shown here. And then also in this slide, there's some 3D images indicating what those options could look like. Moving a little bit further north, here you can see the proposed plan and the diagonal parking that will be incorporated into the portions from Kenilworth. And within this area, as I mentioned before, you have the diagonal parking separated from the 3-lane Green Bay Road. Here's some details of the area. The area on the right shows by Wayland Avenue what the section could look like. Essentially, you'd have the frontage roads with diagonal parking in that area, and here there'd be some proposed locations for crosswalks in the area. Other sections moving further north as we get into the Winnetka area. Here we continue with the 3-lane arterial with parking on both sides, and there's a little bit of an S-curve between the two villages. And here's a blow-up of that where it shows the portion of the curve that can be used for some green space, maybe some gateway identity features, and the image to the right shows where there be some potential curb cutouts that would make crossing for pedestrians of trying to cross Green Bay Road much easier than the current state.
Just for clarity, that's
Yep.
south of Winnetka Avenue, right? That view is all just up to Winnetka Avenue.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Everything ends south of Winnetka Avenue. Some other things that were looked into were different types of lighting standards, some gateway identity features, and then different furnishing options within the area. And these were presented at the public meetings where people could kind of cast their votes with a sticky note to place what their preferred options were. So some of the 3 different types were the Tudor on the left side. The middle one kind of would merge the 2 districts between Kenilworth and Winnetka. And the third one featured stone and masonry. As far as parking goes, within the village of Kenilworth, we kind of just did an estimate, assuming a 20-foot parking stall for parallel parking. With that, we came up with 162 parking spaces there. Under proposed conditions, the low number that we had with the diagonal parking was 163 spaces, and the high number was 170, but that would involve providing diagonal parking across some of the entrances to parking lots. So the thought there was, there could be some coordination with some of the businesses to see if access to the parking lots could be obtained through some other means, whether that's an alleyway or something like that. Within the village of Winnetka, the existing parking was 61 spaces. Under the proposed conditions, it would be 55 spaces. The main difference there for the decrease is we provided some curb bump outs for some locations where the pedestrian crosswalks would be. So as I mentioned before, there were some public meetings in February of 2024, both in Kenilworth and then in Winnetka. So I won't go through every comment here, but some of the main comments were that the public felt that the road diet was a good idea. It's a way to slow down traffic along Green Bay Road and could increase safety within the area. There were some positive reactions to the curved roadway transition between Winnetka and Kenilworth, and with the intersections There were some comments to add a crosswalk at the Winnetka Avenue intersection, and there was proposed or positive reactions to the proposed crosswalks in the area. For some of the comments on parking, there were concerns about the diagonal parking access in the Kenilworth portion and the potential need for U-turns to get out of that area, and concerns about losing parking spaces in front of some of the businesses between Park Drive and Melrose Avenue. For sidewalks, it was a plus for the widened sidewalks in the village of Winnetka, and for the village of Kenilworth, they were requesting wider sidewalks than what was proposed to be a little bit more business friendly. And for Park Drive, there was a mixed reaction to the diagonal parking along Park Drive. And then generally, lighting was preferred to provide more lighting throughout the project. And then the furnishings, merging the two districts was what the public preferred in that area. And the main comments were to, maximize trees and green spaces wherever possible. So as far as the time frame goes, right now we're basically at the end of the concept study, and the next step, should the villages prefer to go further with this, would be to go into phase 1 engineering. This would involve the preliminary engineering and performing environmental studies. This can take, potentially 2 to 3 years to perform. Then after that, phase 2 design would occur, which is developing the actual contract plans that the contractors would look at to build the improvements. That can take 18 to 24 months. And then for phase 3, that would be the actual construction, and depending on the time frame, that could be 12 to 36 months. And I should point out that the time frame that's mentioned here is not just all engineering work that would be involved. It's a lot of give and take where work is done, it's provided to IDOT, there's a review time in there, so that's accounting for all of that. And during these phases, we can be looking into funding options for the project to apply for funding. So some potential funding sources are indicated here, such as Invest in Cook, Illinois Transportation Enhancement Program, or ITEP, STP, or tax incremented financing can be used. So this slide is a little redundant from one of the past ones, but basically if phase 1 is moved into, we've already coordinated and got some input back from IDOT on this. So one of the things that they mentioned is that they'd like to see some more alternates put out there to investigate. So we'd be looking into those additional alternates, obtaining more public input, and ultimately obtaining design approval from IDOT, and then coordinating with any other projects that might be going on for, if there's resurfacing projects or something that's also on the docket for Green Bay Road, and then moving on to phase 2 design. So with that, that's my presentation. So if anyone has any questions or comments, please let me know.
I'm sure we will. Hang on one second. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. And I'm sure there are going to be questions and thoughts here. But from Kenilworth, Kenilworth is driving the bus on this one. So we are, we're an important part of it, but we're a minority part of this. And so my understanding from their meeting is that, this kind of germinated in 2023. Project financing was approved in 2024. And here we are since then. Kenilworth has some new members on their village council. We have new members on our village council. So the whole point here was to resurface it, talk about it, provide some direction. And I think they did have some questions and so on, and they're going to get the dust off and revisit it again in January, is my understanding. I'm not necessarily with you, but as a group, they're going to revisit. And so we're in the same position here a little bit. We're just trying to get re-educated on this, understand it, understand our position, and have the experts here to answer our questions. So with that, are there any questions for Mr. Johnson? Rob, want to start?
Sure. Just a couple things I'm trying to clarify. So you're saying it's about 8,000 cars a day?
Yes,
Do you see any?
that's the latest estimate.
Do you see any reduction in those cars? The traffic's going to stay the same. It's just going to be, you want it to be slower.
Yeah, it'll. I mean, with time, typically it either stays the same or increases slightly,
Yeah.
depending
That's what
on
I think.
adjacent developments.
I'm just looking at from a couple things just stuck in my mind as I was looking at this. You're going to be right at Winnetka Avenue. It looks like you're going to be 2 lanes coming down into 1 lane right at the school where the school
That's
comes
really
in.
my question.
I'm kind of scratching my head going,
It's like-
how's that going to work?
Yeah.
While I'd like to slow it, I guess my concern is I look at Wilmette right now and how that is during the day at sometimes. And there's turn lanes. I remember the worst one was Northfield when they were 1 lane. And they stayed at 1, so you went from 2 lanes down to 1 lane. And if there was a left turn, people, I mean, it was bedlam going down Northfield, because I went down there every single day on the way to Allstate. And going from 2 lane to 1 lane, it sometimes can be really difficult, especially with that many cars. So I was just kind of curious how that bottleneck is going to work. I'm worried about the cars stacking up at the light at the intersection and all the way back down. That's safety going from 2 to 1 right at Winnetka and New Trier, especially certain times of the day. It would be very interesting. The other thing struck me as strange. I know there's room supposedly to back out, but backing out onto 35 mile an hour traffic, I mean, and we're not really gaining that many spaces. We're actually losing some spaces. I think going into a roadway where people are going over 30 miles an hour, backing in seems to be a little bit scary to me. I mean, I look at Lincoln, and people are backing out at driving 15 miles an hour, and people trying to back out.
But I think we're eliminating diagonal parking. We don't have any. We're eliminating diagonal parking.
No,
So it's
That's-
all parallel.
that's kinda
So
worse.
Are you talking about the parallel?
And there's a barrier.
Is it all going to be?
What you see on the screen here, I'm sorry, is it okay if I compare you?
Yeah, you need to go to the microphone.
Please. I just need clarification where you're going to go with that then.
Sorry. So the image you see up here now, this is what would be built in Winnetka. Kenilworth is proposing to create sort of these off-route
Right.
parking in front of their commercial. You can kind of see it on the left side of this
With
image
the
there.
barrier.
For us, we would maintain parallel parking that we have now.
Okay, great.
So we're just reducing though to create. You'll see one of the comments that we received as part of the open house was safety traversing across the roadway because it's so wide. So one of the things we took a look at was, could we create what's classified as a safe haven, a safe island that somebody could walk to, and you'd only be cutting across 1 lane. So you get to the middle island, you're safe, and then you go across 1 drive lane. So what the image that you see here is the addition of that mid-block, but we maintain the parallel parking, enhance some safety areas by creating these bump outs. As Mark had indicated, it provides a little bit of extra landscaping which is follows the pattern we've done for our other streetscape projects. It's consistent with that design, and that's basically what you're seeing in here. So no backing in for us.
How wide are sidewalks in Hubbard Woods?
Oh, in Hubbard Woods?
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Maybe 10
8?
feet. Yeah, don't quote me on
8 to
that. maybe 10
I'm just
feet.
curious.
Yeah, maybe 10 feet. One of the things we did look at when we took a look at the corridor was actually widening those sidewalk areas in front of the businesses that are on the west side to create those opportunities where we have some restaurants where you could have outdoor dining. You create a little bit of buffer and make the space a little bit more usable. And we heard that from the public comments from the open house that we had at Tala. So when we worked with Ciorba, the concept that you see here, those are one of the things that Jody from Tesco, who you've all met before, had recommended about how do we enhance these areas by providing trees and bigger spaces for people to use.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yep. And to answer your question about the curve where we stop, So there was a reason we strategically stopped past the traffic signal where the lane reduces down, is because this corridor is owned by IDOT. And if we get past that area into where the curve is at, it's a very difficult intersection that involves a lot of lighting, traffic signal modifications, and to avoid stepping into that corridor, which is very difficult, we tried to just separate it out, to getting it to just the south of it, which is why it starts with a bend. That's how we got the start point for it, was to avoid that whole intersection part, which really is controlled by IDOT.
Thank you.
So Jim, on that point, quick question. Are we contemplating with Kenilworth trying to gain control of that section of Green Bay Road from IDOT or not?
From my understanding is Kenilworth is looking to pursue JTing that section. IDOT likes to do it at a logical termini. We've sort of talked about this as part of the Hubbard Woods project.
Right.
Winnetka could consider going along with that jurisdictional discussion and taking it to the point that you see here. Again, based on the complexity of that intersection where you've got many streets coming in at the same point, I wouldn't recommend that the village take that over at this point right now. This small piece here seems logical to me. If Kenilworth were to pursue that,
Yeah.
It would free us up a little bit for any business things that we wanted to do just to the south of it.
Okay, but Mr. Johnson, I think you mentioned that there have been correspondence with IDOT in terms of planning and so on. So this plan that you've talked about does not assume that these two villages are taking over through jurisdictional transfer the ownership of Green Bay Road there.
That's correct.
We're working
Yeah.
with IDOT.
We're working with IDOT
Okay.
on the project, and that was one question that was brought up at the Kenilworth meeting just a couple weeks ago. Is there absolutely positively going to be a jurisdictional transfer? And Kenilworth was like, no, it's an option, but it's nothing that we've really touched upon at this point. So.
Got it. Okay, other questions?
Since we were talking about sidewalks, just a quick question. What were the objections to the west sidewalk being enlarged? It sounded like people at the Kenilworth meeting were favorable towards the east side sidewalks being widened, but not the west?
No, I think at that meeting, people were happy with the wider sidewalks within the Winnetka portion, and then I think
it was
in
in
Kenilworth,
Okay.
their sidewalks were going to stay the same on the west side. So I think the comment there was that they were looking for wider sidewalks in
That makes more
Kenilworth
sense.
also. So
Thanks.
Yeah.
Sorry,
You
Kim.
mentioned at the very end that IDOT wanted to see a few other alternatives. Do you know at this point what issues, questions, concerns they have that they would want to see more options?
I think it's just part of the whole design process. They just want to see that every alternative is looked at. I guess some things just from hearing some of the comments from the Kenilworth meeting a couple weeks ago. There could be a possibility for Kenilworth to look into, say, parallel parking, or there's also some other areas that might have the diagonal parking, and instead of the median, they have like a buffer pavement area where you're not potentially dealing with needing to navigate with the barrier islands.
So it
in
wasn't
there.
prompted by any particular concern or anything?
No, it was just something that they like to see. If it gets to phase one, show us other alternates that were considered,
Okay.
and what the thoughts were, or pros and cons were for all of those.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yeah. I traverse this, as a lot of people know, really early in the morning. So I do have a concern about, it's not so much the daily trips, the total 8,000 daily trips, it's the intensity from the early start, which is like 7:15 until like 9 or 8:30. And that's when you have this concentration on school days of people coming. And then I think it's manageable, but I think it's something that we should look at for that concentration of time. Also the concentration largely at the end of the school day, although my sense is the end of school day is more dispersed. It's not as much of an impact as the morning drop-off. And in particular with continuing parallel parking, how that will impact, and it's all traffic coming from Winnetka north, or Wilmette north. So, we have this, strong line of folks coming south on Green Bay, turning left onto Winnetka Avenue, but you similarly have this demand of intensity of cars going north, going to be turning. And how somebody parallel parking, if they don't want to pull into the parking lot, to go get a Tala coffee, how that could, somebody doing a parallel parking maneuver could block traffic coming north on Green Bay. So it's just something I think we should take a look at.
Okay.
The intensity at that hour only, because I think it's pretty well dispersed in the rest of the day. And I don't think it's going to be like a Wilmette problem, because Wilmette's issues, having lived right behind Homer's Ice Cream previously, is because of the surface grade intersections with the trains, and that's what causes a lot of the backups. Yeah. My question is on the west side, with the sidewalk being 15 feet. That's a lot of concrete, and it's not really a restaurant area. We have some really wonderful restaurants. Is there a way to do something where we get a larger sidewalk for outdoor use, but we could also increase some of the green space there? Because there's just a lot of concrete. 15 feet is the size of a road. And rather than, creating this bump out here, which is going to take away some, probably critical parking, is there a way to, maybe kind of split the difference and have an enhanced sidewalk, but also beef up some of the green space there, because it just feels like a concrete area.
Yeah, I think that's a good possibility, and that Tesca would be kind of more of the experts on how to handle that. But if you have the 15 feet, you can use that in a number of different ways.
But I'm thinking of like Marco Romo is largely a takeout delivery service. I mean, Aboye has their, but maybe they want to reclaim their parking. Who knows? I think it would be helpful to think about how we could, you just look at that and it just looks like a ton of concrete. And if we're going to do some improvements, wouldn't it be nice to increase this trees?
Yeah. So this concept here doesn't include things like, to Mark's point, when we get into the details, we were planning on adding parkway trees like we've done before. So what you would start to see is a row of canopy of trees that would continue through. We would look at creating those seat walls and bump out areas where there's vegetation. So we would be enhancing it. This was really just the layout, conceptual,
just the
structural part. It does look like a big slab of concrete,
Yeah.
but our intent was to add trees in critical locations, like we've done in the streetscape.
Yeah.
And then put the tree grates so we can light them all. So there's pedestrian lights along the way. So
Yeah.
that would be part of the, I would say, updated phase 2 design conceptuals that you would see. You're familiar with the Tesca ones that Jody brings in.
Yeah.
You'll start to see this. This was really more about, how do we see the roadway configuration going? Where do we see the changes being made? Okay, the sidewalk's getting wider. There's a center turn lane, but we're adding some medium islands. So this was really just about, what does the layout overall look like? Those details will be coming, though, as we start to advance that more.
Yeah, because I think that will make it feel less, and and may attract some new restaurants, right? I mean,
Exactly.
even though it's pretty static right now, or that empty lot that I always wonder, why is it empty? Next to Captain Nemo's, right? I don't know if that's Winnetka or Kenilworth. That's Winnetka. I mean, it's kind of strange. But the only other thing I wanted to say, I really do like the mid-block crosswalk there, because one of the things I've heard from young families is that they're excited about Overweiss, but they're also worried about how they park. And I like the ability for people to park in our parking lot, cross mid-block, and then use that as a way to get to Overweiss.
Correct. Yeah, and
Without having to go all the way to a very busy intersection where people are turning, and I think that would calm things down a lot.
Sure,
so
absolutely.
I really like that.
Yeah, and I would anticipate flashing signs like
Yeah.
we've seen before, enhanced vegetation through there. This reduction in road diet is it's used up and down the Green Bay corridor as you've gone through. When you get into Glencoe,
Yep.
Glencoe merges down back to the 2-lane. It's the same type of a situation, albeit this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-lane intersection that
Yeah.
all verges at different angles. So that's the scary part with as you get up north. But the reduction and slowing that traffic down really kind of sets up the rest of the corridor as you go south. So we're just happen to be the first piece as
Yeah.
you're going through.
Yeah. Otherwise, I like it.
Trustee Myers.
So I'm in agreement with everyone around how this works at that Winnetka Avenue and Green Bay Road intersection during the early morning hours. And even when school lets out, it does get pretty busy. What I would like to see, if there is a decision to move forward with the next phase, is to actually simulate those hours with the cars. Because I don't think just looking at numbers is going to give us the answer. I think
Correct.
it is a situation where somebody is parallel parking.
Yeah, I think you need
know.
a focused assessment, not just on total trip count,
Right,
because it's
really,
concentrated.
there's really like a 2-hour period
Yeah.
during the day, the 7:30 to 8:30 and then, 3:30 to 4:30, that, yeah, the peak hours that, you got a lot of kids all of a sudden and you got a lot of cars.
But early bird starts at 7:15, doesn't it? So it actually really starts at about 7.
Yeah, and as a requirement for the phase 1 study would be like what we did in Hubbard Woods, but you can make it detailed. So there would be a
Yeah.
detailed traffic analysis looking at how the traffic moves, where's the big movements at, how does that affect the proposed design, how does that merge?
Right.
What issues do you encounter?
And what do we do with, the traffic light timing and, there's a lot of traffic on
correct.
Church and Ridge though also, so.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where it starts to get a little bit
Yeah.
tricky, is because
Since that's in front of
when
my
you
house,
change it in
I'm
Yeah.
one spot, it
That
starts
is
to back up there, yeah. It's
It
a
stacks
balloon.
up in front of
Yeah.
your house,
I
yeah.
think, yeah. The other point I was gonna make, and it's not about the conceptual design of the next phase, it's more our communication with Kenilworth, because if they decide to move forward, their timing and our timing at some point might very well diverge. And I don't know when that time is. But obviously we've got a lot on our plate that is different than they have. So how does that look if they want to go for a jurisdictional transfer? What does that look like? I think those are all things I'm sure that, Kristen, you're talking to their village manager about, but have to get sorted out.
Yes, the coordination of the timing is definitely a key issue. And the feedback from the Winnetka side at this meeting is important for CO, but here as well.
Because if this, if this isn't handled right, and that becomes a bottleneck, all those cars start to go to the streets.
Right.
The back streets, and that creates problems for you and other people in Kenilworth and.
Yeah, I think there is, first off, there's good communication between Kristen and the village manager of Kenilworth. I've had conversations with the village president of Kenilworth, and so there's a symbiosis here a little bit. I mean, there is a sense of working together on this project, and there's probably not a lot of advantage to not work together.
Right.
And so, I think we're in the early conceptual part of this, and as I mentioned earlier, I think we will probably want to defer to Kenilworth at the moment. And it's good for Sea Harbor to hear what we're talking about. I think there's probably some different angles that the Kenilworth Village trustees have versus the Winnetka trustee, because we're talking about different districts and different priorities. But I think it all has to come together if it's going to go forward. And, as I said earlier, they have to sort it through their heads a little bit too.
Yeah.
So,
If Kenilworth wanted to move forward with the jurisdictional transfer and we decided that that wasn't important for us at that little location, would that ruin the project, or could you continue with the
think you could
project
continue.
with them doing a jurisdictional transfer and us not?
No, it wouldn't kill the project. It would just, again, IDOT looks at it as you have to have a logical termini, and a municipal boundary is technically considered a logical termini. IDOT wouldn't want it. They like intersections. Engineers like, square corners. But it wouldn't kill the project at all.
that's why I thought it was kind of interesting that Mr. Johnson mentioned going back and forth with IDOT with the concept of not taking over the roadway. I mean, that could remove, Jim, a complication from the project, I suppose.
It could, as you recall from our conversations about Hubbard Woods, when IDOT still maintains ownership, it comes into liability, and they get to control what you can and cannot build. If they're not, for Kenilworth, not speaking on behalf of Kenilworth, but if IDOT doesn't like the angled parking offset, they won't allow it to be built. The only way they'll do it is say jurisdictional transfer it, just like we would consider for Hubbard Woods. Perfect example where we would say, we want stop signs here, and they would say no. So same, it works in their favor to take that over, to give them the flexibility to actually build what they want.
And Jim, what is the reasonable, we saw the timeline for the different phases.
Yep.
But what's the reasonable timeline, given the fact that Kenilworth is still ruminating on this, going to be thinking about it in January? What happens in 2026 realistically here?
Realistically, I mean, I think we're kind of the tail on the dog, so to speak, in this scenario. We really need to wait to see what Kenilworth's lead is. If Kenilworth decides, it takes them the next 4 to 6 months to come up with an idea to say, okay, we're going to move forward with it. Again, we have not budgeted for this portion of the Phase 1 report, so we would regroup, talk to Kenilworth about what their time frame would be. We would get a proposal from the consultants on what the village's share of the Phase 1 would be. And then from there, we would start to formulate where we think it's going to go. Do we want to pursue a JT? Are we not going to pursue a JT? That's important to know up front. We could start having conversations with IDOT about the process, and then start to develop that Phase 1 timeline. When are we going to do environmentals, et cetera, et cetera. So I could see us be able to get through 26 without committing a ton to it,
Right.
and then refocus for 27.
Okay, Trustee Albinson.
What's the current speed limit, and what is the proposed speed limit with these improvements?
As far as the, I think with the proposed speed limit, that would be something that would have to be analyzed or requested if, if it's through IDOT, there'd have to be studies done, speed studies, and showing, reasons why the speed limit would be decreased. But otherwise, without those studies, the speed would probably remain about the same.
What is it right now? Is it around
35.
35.
35.
Yeah, I think with the reduction on here, if I recall, for some preliminary conversations with Kenilworth, they were looking to reduce the speed a little bit, sort of what Glencoe did, to slow it down through their commercial district area. When you get south of Kenilworth, for those that have driven the corridor, it starts to slow down even more, and you get closer to Wilmette, and that gets to 25, and then it picks up to 30, and then you get in Evanston, and it goes down. So it fluctuates through the corridor. I would say you're probably looking at something between 25 and 35 is where you would land.
Well, it's strange, like in Northfield, you go from 45 down to 30 coming east.
Oh, I know. I
Oh,
have
it's
been
like-
taught many a
And
time.
it's a little, it's very tough.
They
to
wait
do.
for you
Oh, yeah.
in
Yeah.
Winnetka.
And so I don't see anybody going slower than 40 through there very rarely.
What do we have in our other corridors where we have basically transportation corridor going through a business district, like so Green Bay going through by the East and West Elm, and then also through Hubbard Woods? What's the speed limits in those areas?
25.
25.
Yeah,
Okay.
25. I believe it's up in Hubbardwood. Don't quote me on it, but I think it's 25 through there.
Okay.
There's such a heavy anything more than that would be, very, very risky. The quarter, there's a lot. The ADT, don't be scared by the 8,000 ADT. When you start to spread it out, that the daily traffic through there, even reducing it down to 25 or 30, you won't have a backup queuing effect. Actually slowing it down lets people make moves they really need to make safer.
Except during new true drop-off.
Right, but that's what would come out of the traffic analysis of where are they coming from. We did talk about that. There are quite a few students that go to New Trier that live in Wilmette that come up this way. Now, when they do, though, a lot of them are coming 2 lanes trying to merge into one. The actual having 1 lane filtered down actually makes it safer. So then you have, because there's only 1 right turn lane to come east on Winnetka Avenue. So by having it already throttled down, it actually directs those students to 1 lane on the east side of the roadway to that 1 turn. So you're actually controlling it a little bit better for those students coming south to north.
And I guess when you get past the cutoff, you'll have a dedicated turn lane, so the traffic. Yeah,
That's correct. So
Okay.
so you can we're just past Tala, you'll be
Yeah.
in that right turn lane to turn right onto Winnetka Avenue to go down. And then when you're leaving Winnetka Avenue to go, if school is out, and you're leaving and you go southbound down Green Bay Road, it's only one turn lane anyway, so you have one line of cars turning. It's not two lanes turning. That's where you could have a queuing effect. But again, the traffic study would really get into all those details and show where those moves are and how many are coming from where.
So if I'm reading the room right, there's not a horrific objection to this concept, but more work to do, more understanding, certainly on traffic patterns, safety, obviously the sidewalks, what's the west side look like,
Right.
and so on. So given the context of where we are right now, first off, is there any public comment? Anyone would like to speak on this topic? Come on up and let us know your thoughts.
Can I just stand here and introduce myself?
No, you have to go to the podium.
So my name is Dean Nelson. I've lived here for 13 years. I have kids that go to Winnetka or to New Trier like anybody else. I think that, you know, what happens is when you make that left-hand turn on Green Bay, you got a lot of cars trying to make that turn. When you're coming north, you got cars that are going straight and then also turning right. So you're creating more of a problem for the cars that are kind of go straight because you bring it down to one lane. I don't know, but I guess I would check. The other issue I'd have aside from this project is when you come out of the parking lot by the train station there, that space that you come out onto Green Bay Road as you're going north is not wide enough. So you got a lot of cars that are trying to turn into the parking lot off Green Bay, and you got cars that are coming out. It's so tight. I've seen so many accidents come so close that I would encourage the council to at least look at the space there. I mean, it's fine when you're sort of north of there and turning by the light, but that wide open area there is so tight. It's like ripe for an accident because the kids don't turn right and then they're trying to get out at the same time people are trying to get in. I mean, it's like dodgeball.
Okay,
So that's
not good.
separate
Yeah.
from this project, but that would be my only comment.
Okay.
And
thank
Jim,
you.
to that point, if I'm looking at this map correctly, where Oberweis currently is, from there north, it would stay 4 lanes.
It would stay exactly the way it is right
Yeah,
now.
2 lanes north and 2 lanes south.
That's correct.
And it would only be south of Oberweis that it would.
Correct. It would be basically the alley that runs behind where, I want to say 7-Eleven, but
Yeah,
it's not.
7-Eleven, yeah.
Behind that one
Yeah.
back. That's where the project would start.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, and anybody who's driven down Green Bay Road heading south, there's always cars that park right at that bend,
I
and,
know.
traffic merges right into one lane as
Yeah.
it currently is right now. This would just solidify it.
Any other public comment on this topic? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Any other thoughts? I guess I would say if there's no objection, maybe ask the council to defer consideration of policy direction at this time until Kenilworth determines their next steps, since they're the lead agency on this project. That's makes sense, and it'll come back to us, obviously. We'll learn more. Mr. Johnson, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
And Jim, thank you for your thoughts.
Yeah.
Scott, thank you. Okay, we'll move on. Move on to item ordinances and resolutions, item 9A. Move on to ordinance number M18-2025, granting a special use permit for the operation of a medical office within the C2 Commercial Overlay District of the village. And this is at 730 Elm Street, Suite 130, part of the One Winnetka project. Tonight, council will consider granting a special use permit for the operation of a medical office in the One Winnetka building. And again, Community Development Director Scott Mangum is here to review the topic. Hello again, Scott.
Thank you. So as stated, this evening the applicant, Winnetka Aesthetic Studio, is proposing to open a Winnetka location of an existing cosmetic surgery practice that is currently located within Chicago. This would be located within one of the commercial spaces in the One Winnetka building. This shows the location, as folks are familiar, at Elm and Lincoln, currently under construction, One Winnetka building. The property is located within the C2 general retail commercial, and a portion of it's within the overlay district. So the proposed entrance to the location is outlined in yellow in this location. So that would be an entrance off of Elm. The tenant space would start about 15 feet back from the street frontage. However, it would still be within that overlay area. There would be a vestibule entrance for 3 tenants there at that location. So when the council granted the final approval of the plan development for One Winnetka, it also granted partial approval of certain special use findings for medical and financial services. Charles Schwab office that was approved recently is one of those that was considered as part of the plan development agreement. So a little more details on that. The location and amount of space occupied by medical and financial are limited in that PD document and ordinance. Charles Schwab would occupy approximately 5,500 square feet of the space at the northeast corner of the building. And all these limitations that are shown here on the screen would be compliant with the proposed use. So the medical office is proposing a commercial space of about 1,800 square feet. Again, no street frontage directly on Elm, but there would be that shared main entrance. It would comply with those limitations in the PD ordinance. According to the applicant, who's present this evening, the office would have a maximum of 4 to 5 employees on a typical day, with hours from 7 to 7, Monday through Friday, and 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on the weekend. They anticipate an average of about 24 patients per day, with approximate appointment times of 30 minutes for quick treatments, such as laser treatments, microneedling, facials, and injections. The office would also have on-site surgical center that allow for various procedures that range from 1 to 3 hours per visit. Patient volume would decrease to 3 to 5 patients per day on surgical days. And the applicant states that the front waiting area of the office would feature retail displays of skincare products that could be purchased by customers. For parking, the applicant's proposing that its employees secure the necessary parking permits within the A district and then park in village-owned parking lot, specifically the one adjacent to the One Winnetka building to the east. There is parking on the surface level for customers to park within One Winnetka building. This is shared with other tenants within the building. This was reviewed by the Plan Commission on October 22nd. After hearing from staff and the applicant and receiving no written or verbal comments from the public, the Commission discussed the request. Commission members found that it would be a good fit for the One Winnetka building and commented on the fact that the space that the applicant would occupy would not have street frontage. So ultimately, by a vote of 7-0, the Commission recommended approval of the request. With that, this evening, after hearing from the applicant and the public, if desired, given the Plan Commission unanimously recommended approval, Council may wish to either consider waiving introduction of the ordinance and consider adoption, or consider only introduction. As a note in this ordinance, it does allow for 18 months until the start of construction of the tenant space instead of the typical 12 months due to the building being under construction. That concludes the summary of the request. Thank you.
Okay. I'd kind of like to hear from the applicant. Would others maybe have the applicant come up and just introduce themselves and tell us what they're going to be doing?
Hi, my name is Paul Phelps, and I'm the owner of Chicago Oculofacial Plastic Surgery. It's I'm an oculofacial plastic surgeon, which basically means I trained as an ophthalmologist and then did subspecialty training in surgeries of the eyes and face. So what we're planning for this space is really to be mostly a medical spa type of space. I plan to be there a couple days a week and have nurses and estheticians there other days of the week. We already are in Winnetka, so I'm actually at the Perspective Eyes 1 day a week seeing consultations and seeing patients already. My brother-in-law is Ryan Hickman, who's the owner of the Tally Coffee Shop, so I just want to be closer to him as well.
That's a good connection. That's a good connection. It is. Take it over the top.
So, yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm up here, once a week already. I plan to be up here twice a week once this opens up.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Phelps? No? Okay.
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have a standalone surgery center, what kind of permitting? I don't think we have one currently in the village. I'm not sure, but I'll ask Scott. I'm just curious, what state licensing, county, what does that require?
Well, yeah, so great question. So what we are is an office-based surgery. So there are a lot of requirements for, like, for example, if you're taking Medicare, there's like all these HVAC specific requirements. In Chicago, we have already a surgical center, and we have what's called AAHC accreditation. So there's a lot of different types of accreditation. The most common one is JCO, or Joint Commission. There's also this one called Quad A, and then there's what we have, which is called AAHC, which is based in Chicagoland. They basically come and make sure you have the correct governance, the correct infection control, and so there's a lot of medical parts to it, that governance and infection control, and making sure that the waste is managed in a correct way. So we do plan to get that permitting. In terms of like a medical office, what's permitted by the state, as you're aware, in like a dental office, they can give you nitrous oxide, or give you certain medications to extract a tooth, for example. It's considered a medical office, like a dental office. Okay. So we're not going to have a surgical center in terms of like an ambulatory surgical center where you need to apply for a certificate of need and bill insurance. We won't do anything through insurance. So that makes it easier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scott?
Sorry, I'm very long-winded. So,
Yeah, this may not be a question for Mr. Phelps. It may be for Scott or Kristen. When we reach the agreement for One Winnetka, in terms of the parking requirements, is there a certain amount that is set aside per tenant, or is it a certain amount for all the commercial tenants? So I guess what I'm trying to get at is, if he has 24 customers in an average day, let's say it's 3 to 5 per hour, are those 3 to 5 guaranteed parking spots off the street, or is it kind of good luck, come what may? I don't want to put that on you, Mr. Phelps, or Dr. Phelps, but
I asked the same question, and the One Winnetka building told us that there's no dedicated spots for any particular, tenant of the One Winnetka building. What they assured me is that there's plenty of parking for everybody who would be a customer, which, I guess hopefully we don't overlap too much. Hopefully the restaurant is very busy in the evening, and hopefully, we're busy during the day. Because I think one of the main tenants is a restaurant.
yeah.
I kind of recollect that Schwab had some dedicated spots. Didn't we, when we approved that for Schwab?
Yeah,
Scott, do you
I can
remember?
provide some background on that. So there, in the PD ordinance, I'm not aware of any kind of requirement to dedicate reserve spaces for a tenant. But the Murphy Development has stated that they're reserving 10 spaces for Charles Schwab during their business hours, so primarily during the daytime. So 10 of those 39 ground floor spaces would be dedicated to Schwab.
Yeah.
So there's 39 ground floor, which is just for the commercial tenants.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, it's for the public. It's actually for the
So
public.
anybody
Yes.
coming to the
Could go
to
park
the
in
East
there.
Lincoln area
Yeah.
can
I
park
believe
there.
so, unless the spots are dedicated for a business.
I would be shocked to see 10 people in Charles Schwab at once. Like, that sounds excessive.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, I think that's public parking
Yeah.
in there.
Can I just give some feedback from the Plan Commission?
Please.
I think in general, people were really excited. This was kind of a step up from what they were thinking a medical office could be. Like, it's better than a pediatrician's office. It's going to be people doing extra stuff at their own expense, not coming in with colds and, things they have to do, and then spending money in Winnetka and walking around and going to the shops and going to the coffee.
It does have a retail component.
But, well, I mean, that aside, it's the people coming in are just coming in for quick treatments for the most part, and then maybe probably meeting, because a lot of people come from Lake Forest, I believe, that have been going all the way to Lincoln Park. So they'll come here, they'll meet their friends that are nearby. So people were generally excited. The concern that Scott brought up was just that this is going to henceforth be dedicated office space. Since there's no windows at the front, there's just the door. So if this were to leave you know, it's what is it going to be useful for, office space, but I don't think we need to borrow tomorrow's problems. In
Right.
general, people were very excited about it.
Okay, good. Thank you for that. Any other questions for Dr. Phelps or Scott? What about signage? Scott, what's the deal with signage for this property? Is there signage allowed on the door or the exterior windows or not?
So it would be a separate approval process for the signage. I believe the applicants had some discussions with the building owner at this point, but they have not submitted for sign
Would we
permits.
allow, for an interior facility like this, would we allow signage on the exterior windows
I believe
or
there
door?
would be some allowance for that.
Okay,
But that would come through the design review board for
Right.
signage.
okay, okay. Did I ask for public comment?
You did not.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this new business coming or staying in Winnetka? No? Nobody? Okay, we'll close public comment. Any other thoughts? Is there,
I'm fine moving forward with the whole thing
Waiving
today.
introduction.
Yeah, we can wait.
okay? Everyone agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Do I have a motion to waive introduction of ordinance number M18-2025?
So moved.
Second.
And that's a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No? May I have a motion to adopt ordinance number M18-2025?
So moved.
Second.
And Kristen, that's a roll call vote.
Trustee Dahlman,
Yes.
Trustee Myers,
Yes.
Trustee Apatoff,
Yes.
Trustee Orsick,
Yes.
Trustee Albinson,
Yes.
Trustee Handler.
Yes.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
We'll move on to item 9B, ordinance number M19, 2025, granting a variation from the Winnetka zoning ordinance to allow the construction of an addition to an existing detached garage within the R1 Single Family Residential District. This is located at 20 Fox Lane, and this is being considered for adoption. Council will consider a request for approval for a zoning variation to allow construction of an addition to an existing detached garage. And once again, Community Development Director Scott Mangum is here to review the topic.
Thank you. So the subject property here is located on the south end of Fox Lane between Locust and Indian Hill Roads. It does contain an existing two-story residence and detached garage, and it's located within the R1 single-family zoning, with surrounding properties being within the same zoning district. These are current photos of the main house and the attached garage on the site. For context, the detached garage is directly opposite of the east side of the house. So this is a current photo of that detached garage and an existing storage shed. The proposal would involve removing the shed and building a one-story addition in its place to the south side of the garage. So the council is considering the variation requested by the applicant to construct an addition to the existing detached garage. The highlighted area in yellow on the site plan represents the location of the proposed addition. The addition would continue the garage's east building wall, which is currently encroaches into the required side yard setback of 12 feet. Extend that non-conforming distance of 6.9 feet to a proposed distance of 5.96 feet from the property line. The property line on the west does angle inwards, sort of a pie-shaped configuration for the lot. And so this variation would be 6.04 feet from the requirement. The proposed addition would consist of an open area for extra storage space that measures 22 feet by 13 feet, or a total of 286 square feet. This is the proposed front building elevation with the addition highlighted. This was reviewed by both the Historic Preservation Commission on November 3rd. They conducted an advisory review of the proposed addition as required for an exterior alteration to a local landmark. The HPC determined the proposed alterations are appropriate to the preservation of the subject property and would continue to meet the criteria for designation as a locally designated landmark. Additionally, the Zoning Board of Appeals considered the request on November 10th. After hearing from staff and the applicant and receiving no written or verbal comments from the public, they discussed the request. They noted the unique placement of the existing non-conforming garage and the limited scope of the proposed addition. Some members considered how the request met the hardship standard, while others pointed out that the addition would be small and not be disruptive to the neighboring property. And ultimately, by a vote of 4-0, the board recommended approval of the request. So with that, after hearing from the applicant and the public, given the unanimous recommendations by the recommending bodies, the council may wish to consider waiving introduction of ordinance M19-2025 and consider adoption, or consider only introduction this evening. Thank you.
The applicant is here, Scott.
Yes.
Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us what you're up to? 2 people can go up there now. Okay, well, come on up.
Hi, I'm Brendan Carroll. This is my wife, Colleen. Basically, what we're trying to do is remove that detached shed, which was there when we purchased the home, but hired an architect so that we could do it in a way so that the detached garage continues to match the home. And because of that property line, which goes on an angle, and I'm not the expert here, we had to go in front of those other 2 committees. I think the one point, our neighbor who's on the other side of the property line, her house is about 70 feet away, and there's trees, so she was very supportive of it. She can't see it, and that was one thing that they pointed out, the last 2 committees, and how, yes, there's a variance, you don't like giving variances, but the other side of that property line is not going to see it, and we're trying to keep it to look the same, which is what the Historical Commission was happy about. If we try to conform with the weird line, the way we would do the addition just wouldn't look as nice, and the Historical Commission wasn't too happy with that, so that's why we're here.
Okay, questions for the applicant on this?
They just answered it.
Just answered it?
Like, how close are you to the neighbor? And what-
Not very
Is the
close.
neighbor
Doesn't sound
okay?
like very close.
75 feet away?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I will maybe edit the comment that Scott made about the Historical Preservation Committee. We really appreciated, the commission really appreciated the effort that they were putting in to make this really blend in with the house and kind of go above and beyond, and making it look, like it fit in, like it was always there.
Thanks.
It's great.
I was just curious as to the name of the neighbor.
Oh, Forsyth is their last name.
Okay, sure.
And this is, Scott, I can't recall how many local designated landmarks there are in town here. There aren't that many.
I grew up in one.
Did you grow up in one? Okay, I think they're only.
I believe you made a comment about that caused some
I did.
strife.
I did. Yeah,
Yes.
674 Prospect. is
Okay.
where I grew up.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
674 Prospect, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. But, these local landmarks they're beautiful homes. They're beautiful
The
homes.
woman who sold us the house wouldn't sell it to us unless we agreed we weren't going to tear it down.
There you go.
We were never
Well,
looking to tear it down. but
Whoever that
one of her
was, I love that
stipulations.
lady.
Yeah.
It's a
That's
beautiful
great.
house.
That's terrific. Well, I think there's a good feeling about that, about what you're doing, so thank you for that. Is there a consideration to waive introduction here on this? Okay. Any public comment before we move on? Does anyone object to this? Have at it. Okay, no public comment? Okay, we'll move on. I think there's an appetite to waive introduction. Do I have a motion to waive introduction of ordinance number M19-2025?
So moved.
Second.
And that's a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed? Okay, may I have a motion to adopt ordinance number M19-2025?
So moved.
Second.
And Kristen, that's a roll call vote.
Trustee Albinson.
Yes.
Trustee Orsick.
Yes.
Trustee Handler.
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman.
Yes.
Trustee Apatoff.
Yes.
Trustee Myers.
Yes.
You've got the full support of the
Thank you
entire
all.
village government. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good luck, yeah.
All right, we'll move on to item 10 is old business. We have none. New business, I don't believe we have any new business. Appointments, none. We do have a closed session. I would like to ask for a motion to adjourn to closed session for the purpose of discussing collective bargaining, pending litigation, and review of closed session minutes pursuant to 2C2, 2C11, and 2C21 of the Open Meetings Act. Under the motion, when we adjourn the closed session, this public meeting will automatically and immediately adjourn without the conduct of any further business or comments. May I have that motion?
So moved.
Second.
And that's a roll call vote.
Trustee Albinson.
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman.
Yes.
Trustee Apatoff.
Yes.
Trustee Myers.
Yes.
Trustee Orsick.
Yes.
Trustee Handler.
Yes.
Okay, we are moving into closed session. Where are we gonna do that, Kristen?
Excuse me, I came just to make a suggestion to the council.
Oh.
I know you just voted, but.
Come on up and can we do this, Peter? Can we have the suggestion or do I have to open
Yeah, so
everything up
Dean
again?
Nelson again at,
You'll have to just reread it.
what do you have to
What's
do?
Is it general public comment?
General
What-
Yeah, it's just a general public comment or suggestion for the council.
Okay, sorry about that.
If
should
you
have
don't want me to
spoken-
do it, I'll.
You should have spoken at the outset, but that's okay.
Okay, sorry about that.
Have at it.
It's been a while. Again, Dean Nelson at 1191 Elm Street. So I just wanted to, one, compliment the streets and sanitation group. They've, the garbage guys around here do an unbelievable job picking everything up. I think the only thing that I've seen that I would suggest the council look at is a number of years ago when we were doing leaf pickup, we used to have 3 guys in a truck, 1 guy on the ground, 2 guys in the truck. Then we automated all that. Now we only have 2 guys in the truck going around and sucking up all the leaves, as you probably have seen. The problem that we have is many times they don't get to all the leaves before we get these unforeseen storms. So now we've got a problem where they're trying to plow the sidewalks and all the leaves are still there. So I think we either have a shortage of manpower or a target date that's not realistic relative to getting all the leaves up. Specifically around the school where I live, Skokie Washburn, you've got a tremendous amount of leaf problems, and now we've got a safety issue because on Spruce and Hibbard, they plowed the sidewalk to a point, but they can't push it anymore because all the leaves are blocking it up. So you literally have to step into the street where cars are turning left and right off of Hibbard onto Spruce, and, good luck.
Yeah.
So I went to Streets and Sand and said, hey, you need to sort of help us out here because this is dangerous. And that's true on many of these side streets, even on, the east side of West Elm Park. It hasn't been plowed yet. So many of the other, Northbrook and everybody else, they bought machines that actually blow snow versus push it off the sidewalk. That might be a small problem for some of the residents, but it's probably worth looking into because it's a lot more effective in terms of removing the snow off the sidewalks, especially in very busy areas like these school districts. It's also true down at Winnetka. I mean, there was a huge amount of leaves where you go down the side of the railroad tracks, turn left to try and get into the school there, and they just hadn't been able to pick up all the leaves. It created a huge mess. So I would just encourage whoever is talking to Streets and Sands that we need a little bit tighter target date, maybe a little more equipment. I don't think it's that expensive, but I don't know, relative to what we're trying to get done from a safety standpoint.
Point taken.
Okay.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you for
giving
staying.
me the time.
Thanks for staying for the end here. Kristen, you'll.
Yes, I'll follow
Okay,
up with staff
great.
on that. Thank
Okay,
you for your
great.
comments.
Do I have to read the closed session again? No. Okay, we are now moving into closed session. Where are we gonna meet?